Lyric's POV. You used me, I sobbed, crying to my mate who just rejected me. Mating with me was your ladder to power, Roderick. Your pack climbed the ranks because of me. Now that you've achieved your ambition, you don't need the ugly girl anymore, is that it? But you were willing to mate with me a year ago. Oh, spare me, Roderick rolled his eyes. Don't act like you didn't know I'd have left you at some point. Hold on, did you really think I'd have made you the lunar of my pack? I can barely stand the sight of you, Lyric. How do you expect me to take you to alpha meetings and present you to others? You are disgusting. But I did not give this scar to myself, I cried bitterly. And you promised you'd take me to the best doctors. You didn't do any of that, Roderick. It'd have helped. What? Even your own family doesn't care enough to take you to doctors, and you think I would? Quit dreaming, Lyric, and get out of my pack. Tears blurred my vision. It wasn't the first time I was being called ugly, but it hurt more each time it came from Roderick. I knew Roderick had no love for me when my family paired me with him a year ago. For a year, we lived like strangers despite being mated. I was still a virgin as he could not even bring himself to touch me. It wasn't my fault I was ugly. I was burnt with a silver base branding iron when I was a kid, leaving a huge scar by the side of my face. I still didn't know who was responsible for it, but I've had to grow up with this sting of rejection. Even my own family hated me and were embarrassed by my appearance. But I thought Roderick would be different. I thought he'd love me. Apparently, in a world where ranks mattered the most to pack leaders, deceit was bound to happen. I glared at him. I'd truly loved this man and wished he'd love me back. But now, I wish he'd suffer for what he did to me. You are a monster, I gritted the words, and I hope you pay for this someday. He threw back his head and laughed, a hollow sound. Cursed Lyric, how exactly is that going to happen? I am currently the third most powerful alpha now. My pack is up the ranks while your family is beneath me. There is nothing you can do to me anymore. You have always been and will always be worthless. Listen, I have rejected you already, and you have accepted. Although there is one final formality left, but as far as I'm concerned, you're not longer anything to me. So get your disgusting face out of my pack. This instant, before I have the guards throw you out. His glare was icy, and before I could respond, he walked out. After I managed to pull myself together, I left Roderick's pack and decided to head home, to my father's pack. I hadn't been home since I moved into Roderick's pack, and I hoped they'd be willing to take me in. My family had never really liked me. Everything started falling apart after my mother left, abandoning me when I was 4. My father chose a new mate and suddenly didn't have enough time for me. Then, I got my scar and he became even more distant. The guards let me through the gate, but when I rang the bell of the lounge, my stepsister and her mother opened up. To my surprise, they wouldn't let me in. Go back to Roderick and beg him some more, Lyric. There is no room for you here, Nora said, after I explained everything to them. Despite my attempt to get them to pity me, letting them understand I had nowhere else to go, they ordered the guards to see me out. They've always taken me to be a disgrace to the family and were happy when I left to Roderick's pack. Now, they didn't want me back. By evening, I was seated in a bar, my favorite faceless drunk. Over here, they mixed portions strong enough to get a wolf drunk, and you didn't have to worry about being recognized and judged as every customer made use of masks. It had been my favorite bar for years. If people had to see my face, they'd think I was getting drunk because I was ugly. You're too ugly. I'd heard those words too many times. I could recite them in my sleep without missing a beat. But above all, it was Roderick's betrayal that cut deep. It was even more painful that I could not do anything to him. His pack was very powerful now, and I was an ugly, rejected girl who didn't even have a family to return to. Nobody could ever want me. What was the point of living? I emptied the last of my drink and was trying to stand when someone spoke from nowhere. A refill for the lady, please. I turned in surprise to find a man taking the seat beside me. The bartender nodded and proceeded to get a refill. I furrowed my brows in surprise as I looked at the newcomer. I couldn't see his face as he was wearing a mask just like me, but something about the way he appeared told me he was sophisticated. His suit was a Mason Ettal brand, and his watch was an Aristo Tempus watch. An average wolf couldn't afford these things. "You've been coming here to drink alone for some time now," he said, surprising me. His voice, it was soothing and impossible to ignore. I lowered my eyes, feeling a little ashamed. How can he even tell? "I don't know what you're talking about." "Your mask," he tipped his chin toward me. "You've never changed it." "Oh, that means you also come here a lot." "I do. It's not quite up to my standard, but it's my favorite place. I like it when I don't get judged by anyone." The barman returned with my drink. I thanked the newcomer before drinking from my glass. "From the look of things, you must be troubled. I am too, so why don't we make a deal, miss? Have fun for the night and go our separate ways by morning." I looked at him in shock. He was offering a one-night affirer. "But you don't even know me," I muttered shyly. "I do not need to. It is simply for fun." There was something about the way he spoke. I could tell he was a man that didn't care about the feelings of others and was only out to get what he wanted. "Although I must warn you," he tusked, "it will be a long night. I have problems finishing on a woman I never finish. So, like I said, it is simply for the fun of it." He could not climax during intimacy, but I heard that was the best part of it. How could he enjoy intimacy if he has never finished on a woman before? The thought of it was sad. Despite how absurd it sounded, a part of me was tempted. I'd always been curious about intimacy. No one has ever liked me because of my scar, not even my mate. After much conviction from the newcomer, I gave it a thought. "Can we keep our masks on? You'll hate me just like the others if you see how ugly I am." "Sure," he shrugged. "Your wish is my command, princess." "Princess," my stomach churned. Oh no, he didn't know I looked like a monster. If he knew, he'd run off like the others. I was tempted to cry. Sometimes, I really did wish I was treated like a princess. We left the bar together, heading to his hotel as he called it. We drove off in his Arcani's GT. It was one of the most expensive cars in the world. Whoever this man was, he was filthy rich. Could he possibly be an alpha? A part of me had been tempted to ask questions, but none of it mattered. We were simply going to make love and never see each other again. It was the best night of my life. He made love to me in the sweetest way. Although it was my first time, I wasn't sure intimacy could be any sweeter. I didn't want us to stop. The stranger had been shocked to know I was a virgin. The entire session, he kept asking if I was fine and needed him to be more gentle. For the first time, someone cared about my feelings. But something unusual happened during the intercourse. Everything had been going so fine until he suddenly jerked while inside me and came with a deep groan. I was shocked, but we were both in the moment and could not ask questions. He got off me almost immediately, sitting on the edge of the bed. "That is strange," he muttered to himself. I was equally confused. I thought he couldn't finish on a woman. He looked at me, and from how long it was, I could tell he was staring at me like I was a puzzle. I was still lying on my back, exhausted. Soon he joined me, lying beside me. He held his head up with his elbow. "Who are you?" He ran a finger along my jaw. The touch was electric. I swallowed hard. I am just an ugly girl who has been abandoned by everyone she's ever come across. To my surprise, he took off his mask. My mouth fell open in shock at the face before me. Good moon. If he wasn't the most stunning man I'd ever met, he was too good-looking. I could never have someone like him. He was too good for me. I pulled the duvet further to conceal my body. "You should have told me you were a virgin at the bar," he said. What did it matter? I didn't care about being a virgin anymore. Slowly, his hand reached for my face. Realizing what he had in mind, I gasped and recoiled. No, I shook my head, gripping the duvet tight. Why? You've seen my face. Still, I shook my head. Our deal still stands. There's nothing to be afraid of, he added. You don't understand. You'll hate me if you see my face. The night was going too smoothly. I didn't want anything to ruin it. I'm ugly, I mumbled, dipping my head. He seemed surprised. He reached for my face again, and this time I didn't try to stop him. This was my fate. He pulled off the mask, put a finger under my chin, and tipped my head up to meet his gaze. Tears glistened in my eyes as I stared into his silver, charming eyes. He was staring right at my face, at my scar. He was going to run away now. I shivered and closed my eyes when he ran a finger along the scar. What was he doing? What happened? His tone was soft, his fingers still caressing my face. I met his gaze, and so far, there was no resentment in his eyes. Seconds passed. He didn't take his eyes off me. You're beautiful, he murmured. I frowned. What was he talking about? You really think the scar makes you ugly? I shook my head, pulling my face away from his grasp. I am ugly, everyone tells me. More to my surprise, he pulled me in beside him, wrapping his arms around my shoulder. Until tonight, I don't think I've ever met a lady as stunning as you, princess. My heart quickened as I listened to his heartbeat with my head on his chest. Uncontrollably, a tear escaped my lid. He was lying. He only wanted me to feel better.